PowerShell, it's an amazing tool. It's not just a tool for system administrators. It is a tool that adversaries are using to live off the land and compromise networks. And it is also a tool that any person who wants to get into cybersecurity should have a strong understanding of. Do you have a desire to learn PowerShell? Well, we're going to make it a little easier for you. We're going to teach you some PowerShell commands and show you at the same time how you can use it as a security tool. All right, so let's talk about a little command I've got here. The general gist is what we want to do is we want to look at all the processes running on this box. We're going to baseline those processes, and then we're going to monitor it at occasional times and find when new processes have started up. Why would we want to know that? Well, when adversaries get into your system, they're going to spin up processes and other things. So if you baseline your processes and your system is relatively static, if new processes fire off, you can be alerted. So let's show how we can do that. First command I'm going to show you is get process. I run that, and I'm going to get back every process running on this box. Sweet. All right, well, what if I just want a few of these? I don't want all these processes. Do I really care about the CPUs and the IDs and stuff like that? No. So what we're going to do is we're going to do select object, and we're just going to say process name. We'll go ahead and hit enter. Now we just get back one row, one column, and it's just the process name. Now there's a little problem here. I've got multiple entries. Yeah, it's all my Chrome stuff. But I only need to know if Chrome's running once. I don't need to know everything. So we're going to use this little tack called unique. So we're going to grab the object, grab the process name, then tack unique. Run that command. And now all the duplicates are gone. Sweet. All right, well, what if I want, now how do I get that into that's my baseline. That's my processes that are allowed. Let's make it a list. And we're going to call this export CSV. And we're going to call this my baseline processes.csv. If I do that, oops, we're going to export CSV, and then we're going to do tack path. We're going to put tack path, my baseline processes. And we're going to actually put the full path here. We're going to go eDrive, lame PowerShell, my baseline processes. So it's going to write to my eDrive, lame PowerShell, my baseline processes. Hit enter. Sorry, run that. And if I jump over here, now in my lame PowerShell, I have a brand new file called my baseline processes. Open that up. Oh, look, it's got that annoying thing right on the top of it, and then the process name. We want that to go away. How do we make that happen? Because that's going to mess my CSV up. So we come back to the process, tack, no type information. Run that. Now I go grab my... It's gone. If I open this with a Excel, it would look just a nice, pretty CSV with the header process name. All right. We've done that. So now we build a baseline. Now, if there was only a way that we could compare said baseline to current processes. Well, you named it. There is a process. It's called compare object. And when you look at it, it wants a reference object, and it wants a, we're going to put something here, some file, difference object, some other file. And if we make that $A equals 2, we'll actually see the difference between these two files. Now we just have to load that in. So I'm already going to do that. We're going to save the time. We're going to jump over here to a fully completed process. oops, not here, to monitor process. And what we've done is we've created a variable called baseline file, and laid it out as laid PowerShell baseline processes.csv. Then I have my compare file, which is current process.csv. And then I'm going to come back to this. I've got an HTML file, results file. Let's ignore this for now, but know that I created 3 variables with file paths in them. And then step 1, get a baseline of all processes and export to the CSV. Get process, select object, I grab the ID, the process name, and the start time. I don't need the start time if I don't want it. I could cut that out if I wanted, but we'll leave it in there for now. Export CSV, path, and now I just use this variable baseline. So it's going to write to this baseline process. So it's going to build a baseline. Then I'm going to use this command start process. So if I make sure to close out Notepad, when this runs, I don't have Notepad up in my system tray. It's not loaded. So we want to start a process. So we're going to start a process and call it notepad.exe. That will make Notepad start up. Then I'm going to use start sleep, which means this script pause for 5 seconds. Why do I want to do that? I want to make sure that Notepad has a chance to start. And then once I'm done, I'm going to go grab the current processes and export it to another CSV. Normally, you wouldn't do this all at once. You'd have already had your baseline and you'd just be running this every so often. But this will do the whole script from scratch. So we're making a process, we're building the baseline. Then we add Notepad, we start the process of Notepad, we let it sleep for 5 seconds, and then we're going to run get process again. We're going to select the object, same exact fields, but this time we're going to make what we call the compare file. Got our baseline and then our current processes. This would be what's currently running on your system. And then we're just going to go, we have baseline processes. We're going to import the values of these CSV. So we use a command called import CSV, path to the baseline file, and path to the compare file. So now I have 2 variables with the results of this importing a CSV. One called baseline, one called compare. Then we're going to go do difference. We're going to make a $sign difference. That's a variable. We're going to equals compare object. Remember I said we need a reference object? I give it baseline processes. Then I give my difference object, compare processes. And then it wants a tag property. And that's just saying, what properties am I comparing? Well, we're going to compare the ID, the process name, and the start time. You know what? I don't want start time for now. Let's just get start time out of here. No start time there. And no start time there. Okay. Now I've got ID, process name. We're comparing on that ID and the process name. We look at the difference, and what it's going to do is anything that's different between these 2 files will get written to difference. Then we can go and we can see that in action. What we're going to do is we're going to make another variable called HTML content. And we're going to fill it with an HTML page. If we start with the @ it will actually make it so that we can put spacing and other things in here. So it'll allow me to make this all look very nice and handle the tabs. So if you put an @ before and an @ after the double quotes, it allows you to handle formatting. It'll keep the formatting in the string. So when if I were to look at the string, it would have all of its formatting. And so anyway, HTML content is HTML. Then I make a head. Then I put a title in there. Then I put a style sheet in there. I close the tile, close the head. Then I put the body on. And then we're going to go process comparison results. We're going to give it a table. We're going to use these headers. We're going to make a change type, a process ID, a process name, a start time. So there's my headers. And then I'm going to close it out. Then I'm going to do a for each statement. And I'm going to for each every item in difference. Difference is the difference here. And we're going to make an entry. and we're going to add to this HTML content. Again, with the ats, we're going to make a row, and we're going to make a table row, and then a column, a field, entry, and use side indicator, entry ID, entry process name, entry start time. That's going to basically tell me that the side indicator will show whether the process was added or removed. I actually don't need this, but we'll keep it there for now. And then side indicator. Then we're going to come down here. HTML content, we close it off, close the body, close the table, close the body, close the HTML. And now we're going to take this HTML content, output the file path, results file, encoding UTF-8. Remember up here I had a results file to my HTML. I am writing that HTML file with UTF-8 encoding, and then I'm just going to start process and call out that path. It's going to read the HTML file and open a file in my browser. So let's see that in action. Notepad's popped up. And it's going to tell me that this process ID notepad started. We can ignore the start time here, but that was the point there. We can see that process comparison results worked. Let's do this compare processes. $compare processes. That's just it reading in that CSV just like I wanted it to do. Okay. If I do difference, $difference, we can see notepad. This side indicator says notepad was added. If we went the other way, it'd say notepad was removed. We can do $HTML content. That shows my HTML process. So PowerShell is really powerful. It keeps all those variables locked up in memory so that you can use them at a later point, and we can go troubleshoot these things and see what they're doing. But anyway, so right here, we've managed to build ourselves a little dashboard that could keep track of any new processes being added. We could make an alert. We could make a log. We could do a lot of things with these. I chose to make an HTML page just because it's really, really quick and it pops up in front of you and visually to show the stuff. But there are so many different options. Now I'm going to take it a little bit step further. What if I wanted to know my inventory, my applications installed on my computer? We got this little query here. I'm going to take this export off. This is get item property path. This is going to read from my registry keys, my software from Windows and software here, and pull back the stuff. It's select object. That's just basically remembering which fields I want. And then where object, making sure I have values in there. And then I'm sorting by name, so it's alphabetized. And then I'm just writing to this little CSV. So I'm writing all my apps. Let's just take the export out. We'll see what it looks like when I run it. There's all my apps running on my computer.
Oh my God, perfect.
So I can export that to a CSV. Well, why don't we combine the apps and the monitoring processes at the exact same time? So if I go monitor process v2, I already wrote the code. I got a baseline file, a compare file. I commented out results file because I'm going to use this app results file instead.
Perfect.
But I'm going to do a baseline apps, compare apps. I'm going to assume I already built my baseline. And so now we're just going to view current processes. So I'm grabbing the current processes. We'll get the start time out of there if I should. I don't. Well, I keep keeping that start time in there. Get item property. And now we're grabbing the apps on my computer. Sort them by display name. Print them out to the CSV. And now we import those CSVs.
Oh my God,
So they're now in memory, the results.
Out.
We use a difference. We're going to compare baseline processes and compare processes. We're going to make a difference app and compare baseline apps and compare apps on display name, display version, and publisher. Now we just do the exact same thing, HTML content, write all that HTML content. Here we have the difference of the process. Here we do it again, and this time we make another one called installed apps comparison results with display name, display version, and publisher. And then a for each, pulling back those values. And then when I'm done, I'm going to output the file to app results file. And I'm going to start the process app results file. Now I'm going to tell you, I already set this up. It's a little harder for me to just install an app really quick. So what I did is I made my baseline and then I put an app on. And then, so there will be a difference. So I wanted it to pop. So if I run this, we can see the processes. We're going to ignore the processes. We can see down here that GIMP ran. So we got a lot of processes running, and that's because of the time field. I'm going to take that time field out, and this will drop down. But anyway, so I can see that I can combine two different sets of results together. Let's do that. Let's get the processes cleaned up. So here, I'm going to remove start time. And honestly, I don't need ID either. I just need process name. Tac unique. Sure, we'll just leave it there. Export, and then that's fine. We come down here. We're only comparing on process name. We'll come up and clean this out. We don't need a start name. Don't need a process ID. Don't need a process name. We need a process name. We don't need an ID. And we don't need a start time. Okay. Run that. And now it's much, much more refined. Not nearly as many things. And again, we could then change this up and only install new apps, things like that. But this is the concept. I could have this set, run this script on a cron job or whatever, and it just keeps updating. And I could have a notification. I can actually use remote PowerShell, go on a domain control machine that has the ability to remote to all the machines, and run this at intervals across my entire network and get back results. So I could have constant monitoring of my systems to see any new installed apps, etc. And these are all done with free PowerShell. There's nothing special about it. You don't have to pay for any of this. If you understand PowerShell, a lot of the security tools that you use, you can imitate a lot of their actions right there in PowerShell. I hope this inspires you to say, you know what, I want to learn a little bit more about this PowerShell. And if you do, keep coming back to this channel. I'd love to teach you more. Join my Discord, ask questions. We're going to keep rolling out some tutorials on how to improve your PowerShell. And well, we want to make you the best analyst that you can possibly be.